Alright folks, now is the time. We looked at our second most powerful hero in the game here in Marvel Heroes. It is now time to look at what I consider, for all intents and purposes, the number one hero of all heroes in the game. And if you've been following along, you should know who that is just by process of elimination. That hero is the Asgardian god Thor. So let's take a look at Thor. There he is. And all of his awesomeness. There we go. Let's take a look at him. So what separates him, what gives him the number one spot? Well, it's a couple things. You know, the Odin Force, obviously, the mechanic that goes along with that. When you have at least one bar filled with Odin Force, you're imbued with Odin Force, which is going to energize a lot of our powers. I think a hero that has very good single hero damage and also area powers, kind of combination to take out lots of enemies at one time, or to specifically focus in on one hero or one enemy at a time, definitely has a boost. But really what drives how awesome he is for Asgard. So this is a huge, probably in my eyes anyways, probably the best buff in the game, and maybe that's why he makes him number one. The for Asgard buff. So you get +5 to fighting, and we all know that fighting is very, very important because, well, it gives you brutal strike rating and brutal damage rating. But not only are you getting +5 to fighting, you're gaining a base of +27% for all powers. Your critical damage is +27%. Your attack and move speed is going to be 22.6%. Oh, by the way, we're going to let you regenerate a whole bunch of health and anytime you hit with a power. And we're not going to let this power last for 4 seconds or 6 seconds or even 8 seconds. We're going to give you this power for a whopping 10 seconds. So this is a huge buff that is going to really energize Thor, and it only has basically a 21-second cooldown. So every 21 seconds, you're going to get this huge buff for 10 seconds. So about 10 seconds out of every 30 seconds, you're going to be doing a huge extra amount of damage. His signature power is a very good power. Probably one of the best things about it is it has a nice wide arc to it. So even if you are targeting other enemies or whatever happens to get, if they try to lunge out of the way or move or teleport or whatever, you're still going to end up hitting lots of things with this nice wide arc for your signature power. And oh, by the way, it happens every 20 seconds. And we're going to generate 180 Odin Force, which is going to keep our Odin Force cranked up. And of course, this power always critical hits. And because it always critical hits 9 times out of 10 or 6 times out of 10 or 5 times out of 10, whatever it happens to be, we're going to be changing that from a critical hit into a brutal strike. And oh, by the way, our critical and brutal damage is going to be an extra 18.9%. Throw on top, we activate our for Asgard, and we're going to get an extra 27% critical hit damage. And then we'll throw on top of that, oh yeah, why don't you get another 19% on top of that? So 20, what are we at? 27, 37, 46, 46% extra critical hit damage from this power if you activate the for Asgard. And then of course your anti-force. Is just an overwhelming great combination power there. Of course, we also have the Son of Odin, which has a huge nice passive effect, but it also has, anytime we hit with the melee power, we are Thor and his allies are going to gain toughness, increasing your defensive rating and your maximum health by 1,050. And oh, by the way, another nice buff duration of 10 seconds. Oh, and you can activate this anytime you want, and you're going to recover 81 spirit plus 2 spirit for every enemy hit. So a bunch of enemies, you're getting surrounded, you activate this, you get a whole bunch of spirit back. And it does a whole bunch of damage, and it only has a 12-second cooldown. We has a very nice Asgardian smite power, kind of able to leap around in the battlefield. Of course, we have our... Yes, I understand. We have the Thundering Smite, which is our default attack. Oh yeah, this only does, 54 to 81,000 points of damage. And of course, it has the Thunderclap, which does an extra 17 to 25,000 points of damage. So, that is just a nice little power to get things going. And then if it's imbued with Odin Force, we're going to be doing a lot more damage as well. And of course, we have the Spinning Strike, 225,000 to 335,000. Oh yeah, and you know what? Why don't we just throw in an extra 50% damage if the target is below their 50% health bar? Yeah, and we're just going to give you a 4-second cooldown. Nothing, too major or anything. Lots of damage every 4 seconds. Huge, huge, huge. Oh, I could just go on and on and on about all of the combinations, the bonuses. The God Blast is a huge area effect in front of him. And, you can spin it and target other enemies. It lasts for... duration 6.1 seconds. There we go. And it does, 600,000 per second. So 600,000 per second times 6 seconds, if the enemy stays in it the whole time, is, 3.2 million points of damage, assuming we don't critical hit or brutal strike or get any extra bonuses. Oh, by the way, because we like buffing Thor so much, we're also going to empower you and all your allies, increasing your base damage by 40%. For a nice 20.5 seconds. Oh yeah, and because we like Thor so much, we're going to go ahead and give him a critical hit and brutal damage rating of 794. So basically an extra 7% chance of critical hit and a 7% chance, 8% chance of extra brutal striking. And we're going to let you regenerate 8.4% of your maximum health per second. Oh my god, really good ultimate power. Very, you throw in this buff, you combine it with the 4 Asgard, you activate your anti-force, and I've seen this hit for 6, 7, 8 million points of damage pretty regularly, no problem whatsoever. And then, of course, you're going to activate your other kind of in-between powers. You don't have very long, it's only 20 seconds, so you're just kind of using a few of your other powers, generating a little bit of damage, waiting for your main powers to reset again every 20 seconds. Let's look at his stats, his stat lines. Oh, before we do that, power ranking. 45, 44, 45, and these are kind of our, obviously our main damage dealers, and having obviously huge ranks in these. 43, 39, 39, 40. So, the Masters of Moljar is a little bit low. We'd like to get, obviously, a few more ranks in that. But besides that, his other ranks are just huge, through the roof. Nice amount, 45, a little bit higher than the norm compared to all the other heroes we've got going on. If you look at his items, actually, item-wise, lots of ranks to powers. You can see that, lots of ranks and lots of text. 6% chance to knock down a target when you hit, a critical hit rating, a critical damage rating, a brutal strike rating, damage to physical, damage to energy, 2 ranks to all powers, 6 ranks to Son of Asgardian, 4 ranks to God of Thunder powers, 9 ranks for Asgard. Lots of nice, really good ability points. 16 or 19% less spirit cost. It goes on, and when you look through them, all of his really cool items that really work well with him. If we look at his stat line, very, very good stat line. Again, no pet, but nice damage rating. Looks like his fighting rank is probably pretty low compared. It looks like we probably have some Omega points that we haven't used his Omega points in a while. So obviously we could increase his fighting ranks up quite a bit. Probably give him another 6 or 8 points in that. Damage rating 41%, pretty respectable there. Damage 3,638. I believe there's only one other hero that has a damage rating higher than that. And of course, he has a lot of built-in hidden powers between his items and his other powers, just waiting for those buffs to get effect. Plus 5 fighting, critical damage rating. It's going to give an extra 27%. This one's going to give you an extra. What did we decide it was? Empowering you, giving you an extra 40% base damage. This one here gives you an extra critical and brutal strike rating. So even though the numbers, the damage rating is great and the damage reduction is great, stat-wise, I think his numbers show really low, because when you add on what did we decide it was? Let's add that up, because that could be important. So critical damage is base damage is 27. Okay, so that gives us critical damage. This actually gives us a percentage. Okay, so an extra 18%. Okay, so an extra 18%. So our 41 becomes 59%. So anytime we activate that power, it goes up to basically 59% chance of critical hitting every single time we activate something. And of course, our brutal strike rating is an awesome 55.5%. So his stat line, even though it shows low, it's probably going to be low because of the fact that he has this huge 4 Asgard power. So every 10 seconds out of every 30 seconds, every 10 of those seconds, you're going to be doing 25 to 35% extra damage. You're going to be doing just massive amounts of damage. Consistent 1 millions, 2 millions, 3 millions. You're going to be zapping for creatures. He doesn't really have a spirit issue, and even though he only has 309 spirit, because he can get his spirit back pretty consistently. In fact, every 12 seconds he can gain a whole bunch of spirit back. And of course, the more enemies around, the more spirit he can get back. And then you throw in, just this spinning strike. That's, occasionally we can throw this in when we're not activating all of his other powers. And oh yeah, by the way, it does, 250,000 to 350,000 points of damage, and will, extra damage if the target's below 50% health. And we can do that, every 4 seconds as long as we have Odin Force. We're going to be able to leap around the battlefield and do, a good 150,000 points of damage and make them weaken, so they'll take extra damage for 8 seconds. He just has overall, he can take out lots of groups of enemies. He can focus down one enemy specifically. If there's a group of bosses, you get in the right position, you can activate this power and zap all of them. With the God Blast, it's got a huge wide radius to it, so you're not going to be losing a lot of DPS there. You're not going to be losing a lot of DPS because you're missing attacks this way. Like a lot of the other heroes, it's, swing, they have 3 attacks they need to hit for their damage. With Thor, it's 1 hit. You only need to do the 1 hit. You don't need to do the 3 or 8 hits or 6 hits or whatever it is. All that damage that you're doing in your 6 hits is built into 1 hit. So I can, connect on 1 hit. I don't have to worry about enemies diving out of the way. I don't have to worry about enemies, teleporting out of the way when I'm trying to spinning strike them. I can jump on their face from Asgardian Smite, and then just instantaneously spinning strike them. Um, just our default attack. It does a nice amount of damage. And of course, as long as we're imbued with Odin Force, it's going to be doing an extra 20,000 to 25,000, which is, just awesome. And of course, the critical hit chance is going to go up 3% per bar of Odin Force. So, eventually we're going to have these bars filled up, and we're going to be using an extra, 9% chance of critical hitting. Again, that's why our critical hit rating shows really low, only 41%, but it's not low when you throw in the fact that you have this huge critical hit chance here. You throw in an extra critical hit chance here when you start imbuing with Odin Force, and you have very good combos that work together really well and really energize them. And that, buff characters. If you play D&D or anything like that, if you go up against a hero or an enemy and they're not buffed, they're very easy to kill, and they're very, very squishy, and they don't do a lot of damage. But you give that hero a chance to get all of his buffs, or get all of his spells cast to give himself bonuses and damage reductions and all that. He's all of a sudden a very hard hero to kill, and that's exactly what happens with Thor. He's got the best buff in the game. That gives him an awesome amount of stats, and you combine that with all of his other awesome just passive powers that he can use all the time, and you combine that with just some really good powers, and you end up having the number one most powerful hero in the game. So that's kind of why he's number one. Your phone. That's why he is number one, is because the combination of just the length of the bases, the length of the buff, the amount of extra, the amount of the buff is huge. It's just a little buff. It is a huge buff. The fact that it lasts for 10 nice long seconds. The fact that you don't lose a lot of DPS by having to multiple strike enemies. All your strikes are basically built into one attack, which is very nice, because that way you don't lose a lot of your attacks by having enemies move out of the way, or having them teleport or dodge or whatever. And then, just normal everyday activation powers. Extra damage, or you and your allies gain toughness whenever you hit with a melee attack. Well, we're hitting with a melee attack all of the time, so pretty much me and my allies are going to have toughness all of the time. And the fact that his ultimate power is another buff on top of his other buffs, and it's a very damaging attack that is very wide, and enemies can't just get out of the way of it, and it lasts for a very reasonable 6.1 seconds, makes him a very, very good hero. And again, any of the top 10 heroes, very minute differences between number 10 and number 9, and number 6 and number 5, and number 2 and number 1. I mean, you're really getting down to the fine details. And you can interchange, maybe any of the top 10s with one another pretty reasonably. And of course, like I said, any of the top 18 heroes in the game, if you put the proper time in and the proper resources, and found all those ultra rare resources. You see, we don't even have any really. We have one rare resource on him. We have a defensive buff, which is not really helping him out much, because he's already a defensive god. And then we have a couple just kind of okay items, nothing great. If we were to give Thor the best of the best, or any hero in that case, the best of the best items, the ultra rare, the super great items, gave him the best legendary items, you could make a case for just about any of the top heroes to be, maybe the number one hero in the game. And like I said, any of the top 18 are viable heroes to be able to use. And even some of the middle tier heroes can be viable heroes to use. Again, this doesn't mean that Thor is the most fun hero to play. It doesn't mean that Thor is, the best hero to play. I'm just saying that he is probably, in my eyes, the number one most powerful hero in the game. I love playing Venom. He's probably one of my favorite heroes to play, but I ranked him number 12. We're not doing the most fun hero to play. We are doing the most powerful and strictly power ranking them by power. How much damage do they do? How much damage? And I think Thor, of all the heroes, do the most damage. He can stand there in a fight. He can fight off enemies. He doesn't have to worry about his health. And he has so many good buffs that just energize his powers. He just does a lot of damage. So there you go. All the way from number 54 up to number 1. We did a review on all of them. We also did a nice lower tier, the bottom 18. We did a middle tier, middle 18 heroes, and then for each hero in the top 18, we did a specific video of them just to kind of give you an overview of my thoughts about them and let you know. And like I said, let me know what you guys think. Which one would you recommend as number 1? Or, what do you think I'm missing or don't see with a certain hero? I'd be more than happy to take a look at them again. I do a lot of live streaming. We can live stream and look at a couple of the heroes. If you could rank maybe your top 10, who would you have in your top 10? Rank them for me, and I can kind of compare your list with my list. And then, we can talk about that on the live stream. So be sure to leave your thoughts and comments below. Thanks so much for watching this series. I appreciate it. Again, if you're not sure of the my live stream channel, of course, go to Twitch TV, search for ID Jester, become a follower, and you should get emails every time we go live. And we'll probably be doing some live events later on tonight to kind of celebrate the completion of our list of the most powerful 18 heroes in the game, with number 1 being Thor. Of course, number 2 being Jean Grey. Number 3, Captain America. Number 4 is Blade. Number 5 is Punisher. Number 6 is Hulk. Number 7 is Spider-Man. Number 8 is Wolverine. Number 9 is Doctor Doom. Number 10 is Magic. Number 11 is Thing. Number 12 is Venom. Number 13 is Scarlet Witch. Number 14 is Iron Man. Number 15 is Colossus. Number 16 is Ghost Rider. Number 17 is Mr. Fantastic. And rounding out the top 18, in the 18th spot is Loki. So we have the God of Asgardian, number 1, and then we have his twin brother, number 18, to round out our most powerful heroes in Marvel Heroes 2015 edition. Thanks so much for watching. Be sure to leave your thoughts and comments, suggestions below, and always check to see if we are online and doing some more investigations into the wonderful world of Marvel Heroes. Thanks so much. See you next time.